guys! So we left Mary out in the garden searching for the garden that has been locked up for 10 years and the key buried. I have a different copy of the book today, so there's some different pictures. You can kind of see how a different artist imagined these kind of moments. So this is how this artist is picturing Mary. Mistress Mary, quite contrary. Here she is, getting made fun of by Basil in chapter 2. Chapter 3, there she is with Mrs. Medlock traveling across the moor. And chapter 4, which we are in now, there's Martha making up the fire. People never like me, and I never like people, she thought, and I never can talk as the Crawford children could. They were always talking and laughing and making noises. She thought of the robin and the way he seemed to sing his song at her, and as she remembered the treetop he perched on, she stopped rather suddenly on the path. I believe that tree was in the secret garden. I feel sure it was, she said. There was a wall round the place, and there was no door. She walked back into the first kitchen garden and she had entered, and found an old man digging there. She went and stood beside him and watched him a few moments in her cold little way. He took no notice of her, so at last she spoke to him. I have been into the other gardens, she said. There was nothing to prevent thee, he answered crustily. I went into the orchard. There was no dog at the door to bite thee, he answered. There was no door there into the other garden, said Mary. What garden? He said in a rough voice, stopping his digging for a moment. The one on the other side of the wall, answered Mistress Mary. There are trees there. I saw the tops of them. A bird with a red breast was sitting on one of them, and he sang. To her surprise, the surly old weather-beaten face actually changed its expression. A slow smile spread over it, and the gardener looked quite different. It made her think that it was curious how much nicer a person looked when he smiled. She had not thought of that before. He turned about to the orchard side of his garden and began to whistle, a low, soft whistle. She could not understand how such a surly man, surly is like grumpy, could make such a coaxing sound. Almost the next moment, a wonderful thing happened. She heard a soft little rushing flight through the air, and it was the bird with the red breast flying to them, and he actually alighted on the big clod of earth quite near to the gardener's foot. Ah, here he is, chuckled the old man, and then he spoke to the bird as if he were speaking to a little child. Where hast thou been, the cheeky little beggar? He said. I've not seen thee before today. Has thou begun the courting this early in the season? Thou'rt too forward. The bird put his tiny head to one side and looked up at him with his soft, bright eye, which was like a black dewdrop. He seemed quite familiar and not the least afraid. He hopped about and pecked the earth briskly, looking for seeds and insects. It actually gave Mary a strange feeling in her heart, because he was so pretty and cheerful and seemed so like a person. He had a tiny plump body and delicate beak and slender, delicate legs. Will he always come when you call him? She asked, almost in a whisper. Aye, that he will. I've knowed him ever since he was a fledgling. It's like a little baby bird. He come out of the nest in the other garden, and when he first flew over the wall, he was too weak to fly back for a few days, and we got friendly. When he went over the wall again, the rest of the brood was gone, and he was lonely. He come back to me. What kind of a bird is he? Mary asked. Doesn't thou know? He's a robin redbreast, and they're the friendliest, curiousest birds alive. They're almost as friendly as dogs, if you know how to get on with 'em. Watching him pecking about there and looking round at us now and again. He knows we're talking about him. It was the strangest thing in the world to see the old fellow. He looked at the plump little scarlet waistcoated bird, as if he were both proud and fond of him. He's a conceited one, he chuckled. He likes to hear folk talk about him. And curious, bless me! There never was like for curiosity in meddling. He always comin' to see what I'm planting. He knows all the things Master Craven never troubles himself to find out. He's the real head gardener, he is. So there they are, the gardener and Mary, talking about this little robin, little red bird, and it's making Mary have some friendly feelings that she's never had before.